Welcome to Inspire, the Angel Flores podcast, where you'll be inspired, equipped, and entertained.
All right, cool. Johnny, thank you for being here with us. Excited to have you here. Excited to have you at the church tomorrow. Let's start out with, let's hear a little bit of your story. Where are you from? Where'd you grow up?
Okay.
Where were you born? That kind of thing.
Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you, Angel, for inviting me over. It was a pleasure meeting you the last time we came over to your dad's church. And
Likewise.
And then that experience that we had in Mexico, that's when I guess it all started about this conversation, right?
Yep.
My name's Johnny Arreola. I'm from Uvalde, Texas. I'm sure everybody knows where Uvalde, Texas is now.
They do now, especially with the shooting.
We're about a block away from what all happened. Wow. But I guess maybe
we'll talk about that,
yeah. Born and raised in Uvalde, Texas.
Is there a hospital in Uvalde?
Yes.
So you were born at Uvalde?
Yeah. Uvalde is maybe, right now, maybe 18,000 people.
Oh, okay.
Maybe.
Yeah. Good-sized town.
Good-sized town,
Is there a McDonald's?
We got a McDonald's, we got a Walmart, we got a Starbucks.
You guys are big time.
So we're big time already. But no, I come from a family of 7 kids, 1 girl, 6 boys.
Oh, wow.
My dad had
a lot of testosterone.
Yeah. We didn't have TV back then. That's what I'll say, right? But yeah, born and raised, and I know that since I was born, since I was a kid, I as long as I can remember, music was my thing, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And
so Uvalde, for those of you that don't know, it's in West Texas, right? Half hour from the border, something like that?
Yeah, like Southwest Texas. It's in the southern part of Texas.
Okay.
Not necessarily southern, like south, like the valley.
The valley, right.
McAllen.
It's kind of west of San Antonio.
Like 80 miles west of San Antonio.
Okay. How far from the border?
From the border, we're maybe like an hour from Piedras Negras.
Okay, cool.
45 minutes.
All right.
45 minutes.
So growing up, you were into music.
We're into music.
What'd you listen to?
Well, all kinds of music, because we grew up I grew up when I was a kid, it was in the 70s, right? I'm 54 years old.
Okay.
I was born in 68. In the 70s, I remember when I was a kid, there was a skating rink there in Uvalde. Where, back in the day, it was popular. You go to the skating rink, disco music playing, the Bee Gees and stuff like that. I was a kid, maybe 6, 7 years old.
Cool.
I learned how to skate there, roller skate.
Right, yeah.
And I remember shortly after that, I just started liking music. And my dad was a musician before he was married. He had his band, and locally, not professionally.
What was the name of the band?
It was Juan Arreola. I'm junior, he's senior. Juan Arreola and his conjunto.
Okay.
Kind of what your dad and your uncles used to, that kind of music, conjunto music. And
conjunto
I remember
is accordion.
Accordion.
How would you define it? Let me ask you that.
Conjunto, it's made up of 4 instruments, which is drums, bass, bajo sexto, what they call it, is a different kind of a guitar.
Okay.
It's similar to a guitar, but it's more for that style of music.
It's almost like a guitar and a bass had a baby.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Like yeah. Because it's kind of tuned the same. Musicians that are listening, it's similar in the tuning.
Okay.
But when you play, it's a rhythm. It's not a bass. It's a rhythm guitar made in I guess Mexico.
All right.
And it's the 4 instruments. Accordion, of course, the main instrument.
That's the leading instrument.
The leading instrument for conjunto music. And we grew up listening to it. And my dad, he didn't have a band, but he would come home from work, because he became a truck driver. He was a truck driver since as long as I can remember, and come home and grab his guitar and just started singing, and just, I guess, just singing songs he could remember and stuff like that, and
remembering back in the day.
Yeah. And I remember.
So those that are listening, we have people from all over the country that'll listen.
Okay.
Some of them might have never heard conjunto music, so it's kind of like Polish polka.
Yeah, I know. I know Flaco Jimenez made it real popular. You kind of, if people remember, "Hey baby, ¿qué pasó?" That's conjunto music right there.
Yeah, he just sang in English.
Yeah, and he just sang it in English. So the instrumentation, that's conjunto. Flaco Jimenez, he was one of the Texas Tornadoes. People that remember the Texas Tornadoes, because I know some people, they became pretty famous.
Yes.
Not only in our culture, but
nationwide.
Nationwide,
They were. Flaco Jimenez was worldwide. I mean,
he was worldwide. Yeah. I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff. Japan, people from Japan. That he influenced musicians from Japan, from Holland,
What is this guy's name?
I can't remember this guy from the Netherlands, right?
I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah,
that video of those.
He's
guys
from the Netherlands, and he kind of mimics Flaco to the T,
yeah.
man. And he sings Spanish and everything. He's every conjunto fest that happens in Texas, he's down there.
He's there. I'm sure people love him.
He's real popular, and I saw some videos where he's a kid, and his parents have the music playing, and he's a kid, and he's just walking, like kind of trying to walk. And he's already listening to the music, so his parents were into it. Yeah, they had a lot to do with it. But yeah, conjunto music. So
your dad's playing it.
My dad's playing, and he's just singing songs. And I remember we would just we were playing or whatever, because we lived in a small trailer home.
Okay.
And I remember that we'd be playing around or whatever, and I started listening to the music. My dad was playing, so we would just kneel down in front and just listen to him, watch him play.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember to the day, I can remember right now that, I will watch him and I'm like, I want to do that one day.
Mm.
I want to sing like him.
How old were you?
Maybe 6 years old, 7 years old.
And you were the oldest?
I'm the oldest. And the 4 older, because we're 6 boys, the 4 older boys were a year apart.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's me, and then it was my brother. I had a brother that passed away back in 2001. Mm-hmm. He's an original drummer. Mm-hmm. And the singer now to the band, which is the lead singer, which, mind you, they're still playing in the world. Mm-hmm. He's the 3rd oldest. And then my brother George on bass, he's, you could say, the youngest in the original
so
band.
They were having
a year, 2 months exactly. I don't know how they did it, but I'm from February 68. My brother was April 69. The other one was June 70. And then August 71.
You're not kidding about the TV thing, man.
Yeah.
They had a hobby.
Yeah. Well, if people can relate right to us, our age, we were the remotes.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, change the channel.
Oh, man. Laying in front of the TV so you don't have to get up so far.
Exactly. Just right there. Yeah, yeah. I mean, those are the fondest memories, right, that we have growing up.
3 channels.
Yeah, 3 channels. And then they had a little dial thing where you the frequency would kind of go out.
Yeah. I remember that.
But yeah, I mean, those was fun days, I now, at our age, at I say my age, we look back and we're like, wow, those simple things, but that was really what the good memories, that stayed with you for a long time and forever, because as you grow, I remember growing in loving music. So my dad, one day I was 8 years old and I told my dad, I want to learn how to play guitar. Oh, mijo, you want me to teach you? Yeah. So he taught me a couple of chords and I picked it up real quick. Mm-hmm. And I remember one time because some of his friends would come down, he would make a fire outside, like a bonfire. They would get all together and sing songs or whatever. One time I remember that my dad wasn't home yet and he had invited some of his friends, compadres and stuff. Uh-huh. So they come down, hey, is your dad here? He's not here yet. Okay, well, he told me he's teaching you guitar. Bring the guitar. So I go out there. I'm a little kid. I'm 8, 9 years old, and I'm playing the guitar, and all these guys are singing with me. They're singing. They're singing. Cool. I'm kind of like playing with them. What little I could, right?
Yeah.
But I remember that
Coco, that little boy just out there. Coco, the movie.
Yeah, exactly. Uh-huh. And then at the same time, it's funny how at the same time, because I'm gonna kind of like go to the spiritual side. Mm-hmm. I had my aunt. I have an aunt that she's still with us. She's getting closer to 90. But during that time, I remember that she also said, "Hey, you're learning how to play guitar, right?" I said, "Yeah. Would you want to come? Because us hermanas, we get together, sisters, and we go to we meet at someone's house and we kind of do Bible study, and we need somebody to come with a guitar to kind of help us sing and stuff." And that's where I started singing, learning some cantos. But I didn't know that would be my destiny, right? Like the future, right?
So those old corridos
and stuff, yeah. And I just playing and they're singing, and I'm at the same time while I'm learning them, right?
Right. Yeah.
But I know God has a way of kind of making things work, like for his glory.
Plan, man.
That's his plan. And I remember I learned how to play the guitar, and then we had like an organ keyboard kind of thing at the house, and my dad would play with it because it had kind of like on this hand you could do some buttons, and it would be like your guitar and accompaniment, and you could play the songs here, and he would kind of do that. And I remember I was like 9 years old, and me just watching, I never told him to teach me, and I just watched. And when he left, when he wasn't home, I would turn it on, and mess with it. And then, but before you knew it, my mom was telling my dad, "Hey, whatever you playing, Johnny plays it." I said, "You're kidding me?" He said, "Oh yeah, he plays it." And we'll come play it. And I would always be like embarrassed. "No, Dad, I don't know how to play. I don't know how to play." Kind of like, intimidated. I don't know, but it was like the thing, right? But one time, and then my brother James was the one that kind of stepped up, and he said, "Hey, well, let's sing together. Let's learn some songs." And also, the first song that we ever learned was "Un Día a la Vez." Okay, one day at a time. That's one song that pretty much everybody knows, And I tell everybody, even before it came to music, in the beginning, the very first song that we ever learned was "Un Día a la Vez." And so
your family were not churchgoers, not Christians,
and we were raised Catholic.
Okay. Was your aunt Catholic, or was
yes?
She? Okay.
Yes.
So she would get together with the Catholic ladies.
Get together and do the Bible study stuff.
But you guys were not church people.
No.
Christmas and Easter
either.
Not even that.
Either.
Okay.
We kind of like the only time we went to because
But you were Catholic.
What you call that?
The national religion of
exactly.
Mexicanos.
Yeah, we grew up like that because we grew up to hey, you need to do your first communion. So we went and did our first communion. I got a padrino. I don't know what you call it.
A white suit.
Yeah. And that's all I remember, that I was baptized when I was 2 months or whatever, And well, now that I understand, it's different.
Right.
But I started playing, and then I would tell my dad, I want to learn how to play the keyboard. James came in the picture, like I said. My brother James, he's 2 years younger than me, and he said, "Let's start learning some songs." So he started singing, and I would kind of harmonize with him, and we started playing, songs with that keyboard thing. And my mom would listen because she would be cooking in the kitchen, or whatever. And she would listen to whatever. But once my dad was home, put everything up and just, And at one time, my dad would say, "Come on, sing. I mean, I want to hear you. Your mom says that you sing and y'all play and whatever." "No, we don't. We know." It's kind of like,
How old were you at this time?
I was 9 and my brother was 7.
Oh, okay.
And I remember that I guess they got together and kind of planned something to where my dad was like, "Okay, I'll be back later." So he took off, and we would always wait for that moment when he left. So he left, and he had told my mom, "I'm gonna left, drive the car and drive it to the back, and then come in and surprise him."
Yeah,
and that's what he did. And when he heard it, he was like freaking out because at that moment he told us, "Man, I'm." Because we have older cousins and older, my dad has older siblings, so we have older cousins. And he said he's the only musician in the family, so he would kind of want to teach the older cousins and stuff. They could never learn. He said, "Wow," he's just fascinated because he was like, "Y'all learn this by yourself." What kind of like he taught me in the beginning the basics, on the guitar, and I took it from there, right? And he was freaking out because I said, "Man, I would get tired of teaching so and so, and they wouldn't get it. They wouldn't get it. They wouldn't get it." My mom said, "These are your sons. They come from you.
Right? Do you think there's something to that? There's a genetic part of that, or do you think it's? I mean,
I think it's a hit and miss. I get because I have
because all your brothers are musically inclined.
All my brothers are musically inclined. Everybody sings. Everybody plays.
And there's plenty of people that cannot. I mean, I can't. When I watch American Idol, I think they all sound awesome. You know what I mean? Like, I don't get it.
Really?
Yeah. So
wow. Yeah. Well, because and I'm gonna put this out there also. I was married before I met my actual wife now, and I have 2 older kids. My oldest daughter, she's already 30. My son's 23.
Okay.
And none of them are musically inclined.
They don't have any of that. Huh?
My daughter, on the other hand, my 16-year-old, she can sing and she can play accordion, she can play keyboards, guitar, she can do anything.
It's like a language that you either get it or you don't.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I said, hit and miss, right? Because I've seen parents that have, like my brothers, all my brothers, none of them have kids that pursued it or wanted to do anything with music, and so to answer the question, I think it's
it's interesting.
You never know. It's an interesting question.
So your dad heard you guys playing.
He heard it and he was freaking out. And that's when he told me, he said about, he would teach my older cousins and nobody. He said, it was just fascinating. He said, and then he said, "You know what I'm going to tell you right now?" And that was very important because he told me, "I know you want to start a band one day, right?" I said, yeah, I want to start a band because, right? He said, well, if I were you, I would teach your brothers because I'm a musician. I come from the only one in the family that's a musician. So when I started my band, he said, everybody was from the outside. So right at the time I had this important gig or whatever, the bass player would say, I don't want to go. Or no, I don't feel like going.
I got to work. My wife won't let me go.
Yeah, exactly. And I would always have a hard time with musicians. So he said, teach your brothers. And you know, it's something that might help. I don't know, but I'm saying if I had brothers, he said, that were all musicians, I think I wouldn't be in this situation, you know. So that's what I did. You know, I started learning because of the piano. He bought me a piano accordion, you know, because there are piano accordions too. So I started with one of those. And then I eventually told him, you know, I want to learn how to play a button accordion. He said, man, my dad said, that's a very hard instrument to learn because me, myself, I could never learn. He could play bass, he could play bajo sexto, guitar, he could play drums. I said, but I would always tell even my accordion player, can I take your accordion to my house so I can kind of pick at it, see how I can pick up something? He said, I could never. And that's why he would hesitate because they're kind of expensive. Back in the day, it was like maybe $300, $250.
Right, yeah. In the 70s, it's a lot of money. Yeah.
And he was like, you know, we're talking right now already. This is when I started teaching on my brothers. That was back in 84, 83. Okay. Yeah. So
you're what, 16?
I was maybe 15, 16. Yeah. And he said, he said, are you sure? Are you sure? I said, yeah, I know I can. I just had it, right? So I remember that he bought me a Honer. It was like $250, but almost new. Somebody that was selling it because he couldn't learn how to play, a friend of his or something. And I just picked it up. In a couple of weeks, I threw the other one. Wow. I just put it aside and I used a button one. I was just fascinated by it, right? Because it was totally different. But now I think I'm back and I say, you know what? When you're younger and you're young, your mind's like a sponge. Yes. Anything, if you want it, you're gonna learn it. You know?
Figure it out. Yeah.
You figure it out somehow. You know, because I see these kids. I see my kids with the games and stuff. They're like, they're fast. You know, like I'm like, I couldn't do that. You know, but so I started the band and what
was your first gig? Do you remember?
We started playing like, I think the very first one was like a party or something out. We would do like outdoor little parties and stuff. Okay. And
someone's having a barbecue.
Yeah.
And you guys
my dad would say, hey, I got my sons to play or whatever. And because now that this church that we're serving now under is, it's called Trinity Fellowship out of Uvalde. Me and my wife were on Wednesdays we do the worship. Okay. The pastor, I think he's a little older than me. He's like in his 60s. And he said, one time we were eating after church service, and he said, I never told you, but you played for my bachelor party. I said, really? Yeah. When was that? It was 1980. He said, I had a bachelor because he wasn't in the Lord back in the day. Right, yeah. He said, they threw me a bachelor party, and then your dad talked to my dad, and we got y'all to play. And he said, the only reason I remember is because you had already set up when I got there. And you had the equipment and stuff. And then I said, well, where are the musicians? Who's going to play? They're over there. Y'all were there like, he had a big yard. And at the end, it was kind of like a little creek. And they pointed to us while we were kids. I was like maybe 12, 13.
Doing little boys do, throwing rocks.
They were throwing rocks to the creek and stuff. Like, those are the musicians.
Trying to catch a lizard.
Yeah, exactly. We were all kids, you know, and it was like, wow, those are the musicians. Yeah, he said, I remember that because you played at my bachelor party. And I was like, wow, I didn't even remember.
So you still don't remember that happening?
I don't remember. The only thing I remember was that.
So some woman didn't jump out of a cake because you would remember that.
Yeah, I remember that. But you know what I mean? The things that I remember is like, I didn't remember the playing. I didn't remember that. What I remember was that night when it all finished, we didn't have we're having trouble with the lights of the trailer. So somebody there was a cop, and he told my dad, no, whatever. It was like, we'll follow you. And they followed us home. And that's how I don't know why I remember that.
Isn't that weird how your brain works?
Exactly. Yeah. And I told my dad remembers that exactly thing. He said, yeah, I remember that party at Acá there. We played at this house and whatever. I was like, man, I can't remember, you know. But that was one of our first gigs as Los Tremendos, Pequeños, we were called, because it's Pequeños meaning small ones.
Little guys.
The little
the
small
incredible.
ones. The incredible small ones.
Little, yeah.
And And nowadays, if you go to Uvalde and ask somebody about us, if they remember when we started, some will call us the pequeñitos. Pequeñitos meaning also the same.
Little ones, yeah, small ones.
Oh yeah, the pequeñitos, yeah, the pequeñitos. You know, that was back in the 80s. And it wasn't until when we got to junior high, we kept playing, doing quinceañeras, parties, weddings. We graduated from high school. And by that time, we were playing anything that would come out, top 40, rock, anything. You can play anything.
Oh, you were playing?
Yeah, we would play at our dances because, you know, how Tejano is now, you know, back in the day also, we were popular into, because back in the 80s when I was going to school is when Bon Jovi, Def Leppard, you know,
White Snake,
all these bands were coming out with even Salt and Pepper, all these that would come out with different songs. And we would kind of learn the happening song so we could have it to play in the quinceañeras and stuff like that.
So you played Push It.
Yeah.
On the accordion.
Not an accordion. Oh. That's why I had the keyboard.
Oh, the keyboard. Yeah.
And then we would play, for example, I don't know, remember when that real popular song, La Lambada, came out.
Oh, yeah.
We would play that song. Remember, we did a lot of George Strait. We did country. We did a lot of George Strait songs.
Yeah, which is very similar in style to Tejano. Yeah.
We did Cool in the Gang.
Oh, okay. And you guys were doing conjunto too?
At the same time, we would do conjunto.
So you would just mix it up. You were
mix it up. Yeah.
You were the jukebox.
Yeah.
Total package.
And being back in the day, there was no internet. You know, there was no like if we were like this super band, there was no way you're gonna get
to promote yourself,
recognized. You know, I remember that back in graduated high school, and it wasn't until 1989 we opened up for a very famous Tejano band, La Mafia.
How did that happen?
There was a promoter from Uvalde that used to bring all these Tejano happening acts to Uvalde.
Okay.
And
so there's a stadium or a civic
like
center.
A civic center.
Okay.
And I remember because he would bring them in, and I remember that he moved to Kerrville, Texas, and he saw what we had. So
he remembered you then.
Yeah, he saw like, man, you always have the crowd going. Like for an opening band, I mean, I have never seen somebody like that. So he heard La Mafia was looking for talent for an opening act to travel with them back in '89. And he said
they were pretty young guys back then too.
Yeah, they were in their late 20s, mid 20s. You know, we were in our teens, right? I remember that he kind of wanted to put us to open up for La Mafia there, so we could, you know, so they could see what we had,
right?
Because that promoter guy was a musician also himself, so he knew about music, and it was so the experience was, how can I put it? Starting out with the promoter had hired us for, he said, man, I'll give you $400. I said, cool. But my dad was like, no, we want 500. My dad didn't see what I saw, you know.
You saw the opportunity.
And my dad was like, no. So I called him, hey, dude, I mean, my dad doesn't want to do it. He doesn't want to do it. And he said, well.
You would have done it for free because you saw the potential of
But my
moment.
dad was always after like, hey, no, si él quiere, if he wants, he's going to give us what we want. You know, but I mean, I knew his logic. I knew what he was trying to say. But me, I was like, this is a chance. And back in the day, if I knew then what I know now, I was like, man, this is a chance that we're getting that.
Right. Yeah.
You know, like, take it. And now I know, and I was like, I was a good judge of whatever was going on.
You could see the moment.
So I called him because I knew him personally. And I said, hey, Jesse, his name was Jesse Cruz. And I told
Shout
him,
out
hey,
to Jesse Cruz.
Jesse Cruz, yeah. And he was like, you know what, Johnny, if it's going to be like that, you know what? I'll put $100 in my pocket. Really? You do that, dude? Yeah. So he said, just don't tell your dad. Just tell your dad that La Mafia is going to give him $500. Okay. So I called my dad. Yeah, no está bueno. He will do it. Okay, he will do it. So it happened. And he knew right when we started opening for La Mafia, it was packed place.
Where was it?
In Kerrville, Texas.
Oh, so it was in Kerrville.
Yeah. Close to San Antonio. And I remember that the crowd was like, and we knew, my dad would always tell us, you know, learn everything because that's how we played all this stuff. We started throwing this and that or whatever because we had never been that far from Uvalde, you know, like we went there And it's not even
This is
far.
a
It's
big
like
time
right there.
now,
Yeah.
man, yeah.
We're hitting the big time. So we're playing and we got the crowd going. By the time we get the crowd going and screaming and yelling and whatever, and then I turn around and see the guys from the Mafia there behind stage looking to the side of the stage. And we're like, I kind of got intimidated because, wow, this is a Mafia.
Starstruck, yeah.
Yeah,
like,
and they
this
were
is-
like, okay, we kept going until we finished. When we got off, we met with them in the back before they got on, and we're like, wow, where y'all from? You know, like, we're from Uvalde. Oh,
Where
yeah,
are they
we've been
from?
to Uvalde. They're from Houston.
Okay.
But they had gone to Uvalde because they had taken them there before. Wow. We never seen anything like that. Like, y'all's vocals, man, they're like on point. Like, do y'all record with anybody? I said, we're not recording anything. We haven't recorded with anybody. Wow. Like, right, guys? We never seen that opening band like that, man. We like, I know that y'all are versatile. Y'all can play different stuff and whatever, but the vocals and I remember the keyboard player was like, the vocals, I can do something with that. I can kind of mold them into their own.
So who were the singers?
Me and my brother James.
Okay.
And I remember that he said, we'll call y'all. This was like in June or May of '89. He said, we'll call y'all. And July, August, December passed, and nobody called. And we're like, they probably didn't call us. But then we found out that they take a break in January. So in January, they called us and said, hey, this is so-and-so, La Mafia. Remember we talked about whatever. We're interested.
They hadn't forgot about you.
Yeah, we want to pay. We want to pay for your first recording and take it to our label, see what they say, and let's start from there. But we want to meet with y'all so we can kind of talk about things and see where we're gonna go, because we didn't see.
And you're like, yes. The answer is yes.
Yeah, whatever you want to do.
Is, yes.
Yeah, whatever you want to do.
Yeah,
you know, because he said, y'all play all the styles, but what is y'all style? You know what I mean? I said, we don't have a style. It's like we just play anything. And
our style is eating.
Yeah.
And so
eating, sleeping,
whatever they'll pay us.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember that that was in 1990. So they paid for a recording. And then
have you ever, I don't know if I remember hearing that family bands are so popular because they can harmonize because they almost have the same voice because they're the same family.
Right.
And so have you ever heard that?
Yeah.
So that's true then.
It's very true. And
because you can harmonize with your brother.
You can tell if it's a family band when it's the vocals, for example, because like you say, they sing together, they've been singing together for so long or whatever. And you can tell when the band's different members, because the majority of the Tejano bands, there's only one singer. And the one always trying to harmonize, he kind of does a little.
Right. But if it's a brother.
Yeah.
Then you grew up together, you sing for your voices are similar, right?
And in the industry that we've always been known, after many years after that I'm telling you, they've always recognized us because of our vocals. Say, man, y'all are the best vocals out there in our style or in our genre, you know? I'm like, wow. Like, and it's true, because we go out and hear other bands that kind of, because I call it's a competition, you know? And in the world, I tell, for doing it for Christ is a different thing, but doing it in the world, it's a competition, because you're always looking over your shoulder to see what band the next guy is going to come and taking your place, you know?
Yeah.
And I remember that, you know, that's what it is, you know, that when it's a family band, also, it's like when my dad told me, it's a togetherness, it's the unity, you know, that we, some bands don't make it because once they kind of get a little name for themselves, then they lose a bass player, they'll lose the drummer, they'll lose somebody, and then the band, the chemistry is not the same. You know, how would they start it? You know what I mean? And
you guys had that built in because you're family,
And then to top it off, you know, in 2001 we had our freak accident, the bus. We lost my brother, the drummer, and we already had the two younger brothers. One of them was running sound, house sound, and the other one was running monitors.
Oh, okay.
So they knew everything that we did or whatever. And that other one, the younger one, when he was little, he's like 9 years younger than me. He's the youngest, the baby of the family. I taught him how to play also all the instruments. And I taught him to play, hey, I want to play accordion. Okay. He was always, because I was always I love music. I was always practicing. I was always in the practice room learning this, learning that. And I'd tell him, learn this. And my dad would always tell me, teach the younger ones, because you never know what can happen in the future or whatever. He was always thinking, because he said one day before we signed up, when Mafia was helping us out, he said, don't get married. or don't get involved right now, because right now everybody wants it, and you know what you want. So right now it's 4 hits wanting something. The reason that I'm saying that, not because, I don't want y'all to leave the house or whatever. No,
Right.
it's because once you get married, it's 8 hits.
Yes.
And you don't know if one of these is going to pull the other way.
8 opinions. Yeah.
Yeah, and then it's going to pull one of y'all to the other direction. And everything.
So the advice that Johnny is giving right now, don't get married.
Don't get
what I'm hearing him say.
For a lot of other reasons, right? but yeah. But, you know, and that, you
Someone
know,
just gave us a like.
but you know what? And it's funny because how things work, or how, because my dad's saying that, you know, it didn't happen, right?
Mm-hmm.
Don't get married. Everybody started, you know, I got married first and whatever.
Young men that have needs.
Yeah, needs. But it didn't happen until 20 some years later that, you know, when I went through right after the accident in 2001. Well, let me go back a little bit.
So you guys, let's go. So you Mafia wanted you to record. You guys recorded.
Mm-hmm.
Did they present the demo?
They present the demo to the label.
What,
At the
what
time,
song
it
did
was
you guys record?
The label was called Sony Records.
Okay. I think people have heard of that one, man.
Yeah. Nowadays, there's no labels. You know, like it's hardly any labels. Everybody to themselves.
The world is so different. Everyone's their own label, right? Their own.
And it's because of record sales.
Mm-hmm.
They went down. The internet kind of affected different
For
people.
sure,
It might have affected to an advantage some people and disadvantages other people.
Right.
And the record business, everything went, you know, down south. Mm-hmm. And I remember that.
What song did you guys record?
The song is called En un buque de rosas. But the first album pretty much didn't do anything for us. And then we recorded a second album. It also didn't do anything for us. It started a little bit, but due to the fact that back in the day, Tejano music is very versatile. It's a combination of influences from blues, from country, from Tejano music. I would think it's like a genre in itself.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
and then when you talk about it, you can get deeper, and it's not even Tejano. It's not even a genre. It's more like because Tejano means Texas,
mm-hmm.
and when you say country, what does country mean? You know,
yeah.
Or when you say rock, what does rock mean? You know, but the music, it has its own style and everything. And back in the day, in the 90s, early 90s, Tejano radio, because it got real big. We said Selena, you know, when Selena passed away, a lot of people said Selena died and Tejano died. No.
Tejano was...
When by the time Selena died, Tejano wasn't to speak. You know, there was major radio stations, FM radio stations, and that was what's really where you really at.
Guys like Grupo Mas, they were driving some of that.
The Mafia. You had a bunch of bands. And talking about that, we were accordion-based band.
Mm-hmm.
So when we started, they started throwing us into trying to get us played on Tejano radio. And they would look at the music and listen to the music and look at whatever is it, Los Palominos. Y'all are norteño. We can't play y'all here. So they'll take us to the norteño station, because I remember they took us on the first radio tour on the second album. Like, Los Palominos, and they will put the music. Suena Tejano. You know, and then we'll go to the Tejano station. Tejano said, we can't play this here. Like, in other words, to make a long story short, if you weren't Ramon Ayala, that was the only exception that was to Tejano radio to play an accordion-based band. If you weren't Ramon Ayala, I'm sorry. Because, in other words, they were, I guess, afraid of losing ratings.
Right,
you know?
yeah.
So we're like, wow, what do we do? And Mando, I remember the third album. We were preparing for the third album back in 90. It was the latter part of 92. And he said, we had recorded the whole album. And he said, you know what? There's 3 cumbias on the album. And he said, man, it's a shame that these are very good songs. And I know that they're just going to see them and just going to throw it away and they're going to play it.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you know what? Let me sleep on it. So the next day we came to the studio and he says, you know what? We're going to change everything. Johnny, I know you play keys, right? And I said, yeah, a little bit. Hey, James, you play guitar. I know you play bajo, but you play guitar too. So yeah. Well, let's try something different. So we got all the cumbias and erased everything and started from scratch. And we did the cumbias with keyboards. And kind of like in between. So the radio PDs, I know what he was shooting at. The PDs would say, "What kind of music is this?" Because it's not.
What's PD stand for?
Excuse me.
What's PD stand for?
The program directors.
Okay.
People that really say the yay or nay.
They're the gatekeepers.
Yeah, they're the ones that are gonna. And I remember that the music sounded. It doesn't sound norteño because it doesn't have an accordion, and it doesn't sound Tejano, but it fits in the Tejano because everybody Maz and all these bands are playing keyboards, right? Mm-hmm. So when they took out, the song was called Corazón de Cristal, Crystal Heart.
Okay.
It's talking about this guy that becomes famous and that he could see that he was losing his love because she was in the crowd, but I guess because he became famous, she started not, in other words, kind of like one of those, as the more famous he got, him and his girlfriend or whatever cut it off or whatever. Mm-hmm. And that's what he's saying, corazón de cristal, because her heart was so fragile that she couldn't take him being on the road. And you know what I mean? Like everything that comes on the road, of course, not any wife can
right, yeah,
can withstand that.
Not a family
right?
environment.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. And so that song just took off because the Tejano was like, okay, we'll play it. I mean, it's not accordion. We'll play it. Boom. And then I remember Mando, our producer, the keyboard player for La Mafia, he's the one that took from day one to produce us. Mm-hmm. He said, I'm going to invest. He invested like $3,000-$4,000 in buying little crystal hearts. So he said every PD, every major radio station across Texas, they're going to be playing the song. We did a 12 Days of Christmas giveaway, and it came around that time. Mm-hmm. So he said, I'm going to register people. The PDs are to play the song 10 times and register 10 people. And at the end of the day, give the crystal heart to whoever wins it. Kind of like a raffle kind of thing.
Promotion, yeah.
But he said the kicker is here, they're going to play it 10 times regardless. So where in the world are you going to get
that kind
10 your song played 10 times on a radio station, So that was like genius. So he did that and it just took off, and just the major stations playing it. Like, let's say there's a major station, let's say in Denver, they're playing it. Well, all the little stations were like, yeah, well, we're going to play what they're playing. That's a new song they're saying.
People start liking the song.
Everybody, yeah. I mean,
they start requesting it. That's gone today.
Exactly. Yeah.
When we were kids, you would call the radio and request a song, and that doesn't happen anymore.
No,
but back then that was the way you.
Yeah, now people now. I don't think people even. There's a lot of radio stations that are closing down because they don't listen to radio.
Right. Yeah.
The streaming music now.
So then how? Okay. So you guys finally figured out the formula, and you're starting to blow up. When did you ever realize, or what was the first time you thought to yourself, I'm famous?
And I was going to get to that right after that. Why? Because when I was reading the question, I was like, wow, okay. Like, everything started overnight. I remember going to a place that we played, and it was maybe 60 people there in Corpus. Mm-hmm. And it was, I don't know if you ever been to Corpus. It's a place called the Yellow Rose.
Okay. The Yellow Rose of Corpus.
On Saratoga.
All right.
And
shout out to the Yellow Rose on Saratoga.
Yellow Rose, I don't think it exists anymore, but people that owned it or whatever. Where was there? But, 60 people. And our single came out, and we went back 2-3 months later, jam-packed place, over 2,500 people.
Holy
we were
smokes.
Like freaking out, like, wow. And everywhere we went, it was like that. We'd go to fly somewhere at the airport, somebody would see us, Palominos, oh my God, they were coming we felt kind of like the Beatles, right? Like when they first started coming out. Because picture us, I'm 20, by 93, I'm 25.
Okay.
But I didn't look 25. I probably looked like I was 17 or 18.
Okay.
Real young. Mm-hmm. We all look young when we were younger. Mm-hmm. That's why a lot of people see us like, you're not that age, because we age gracefully.
People used to tell me that too, but they don't say it anymore.
They don't say it anymore. I wonder why they don't say it anymore, right?
It hurts.
I wonder, right?
So people are, and back then it wasn't selfies, it was autographs.
Yeah, autographs and stuff like that. Or
now it'd be like,
whatever. Yeah. And it was fun. And it didn't hit me then about I made it, because I would always like, wow. And people would, even before that, they would hear us play before we even became famous, right? And they would say, man, one day you're going to make it. One day you're going to make it. You
guys are good.
Good band, you're like, you're going to make it one day. We never heard from anybody said, y'all made it, right? Because it's just like that. I don't know if it's just something that you're going to make it and then you make it. And I remember that.
That is interesting. Yeah. People just stop telling you that.
Stop telling you. Yeah, exactly.
Because in their mind, you already made it. But you already made it. No one ever told you, exactly. Hey, guys, guess what?
It's kind of like my dad. I kind of remember. I'm remembering. I'm like, when did my dad ever tell us, y'all are good? My dad never told us. It's kind of like if you see the Selena movie. Living? My dad's still alive. Yeah, he's 80 years old.
What's his name? Oh, Johnny. Juan, do your sons a favor. Tell them they made it.
I remember that. If you see the movie Selena, same thing. Same thing. We went through the same thing, and I'm sure that a bunch of other family bands went through the same thing.
Yeah. Do you think you need that though? You need that guy that's not
Joseph Jackson and stuff like that.
Yeah, that kind of.
I see it. I guess growing up in the environment that we grew up, I think that's what it is. Because nowadays I feel that we need to tell our kids we love them. Because I never grew up saying my dad telling me I love you, mijo. Right. I love you. I take care of you. I love you. Whatever. Oh, you're okay. Get up. You don't say anything. Yeah, shake it off. Come on, don't cry. Men don't cry. Stuff like that. But
which is probably how he was raised.
He was raised like that, and I guess that generation. Because I remember talking to your dad about it and stuff. He's like, yeah, the same, whatever. He comes from a family, a bunch of brothers too, right?
Musicians, yeah.
So he never told us, you made it. And I remember that when we won our first Grammy back in '99, that's when he really said, okay, ya le hicieron, y'all made it. Don't let it get to your head. That kind of thing. And I'm like, oh, well, that already passed. Like the Grammy wasn't, it was a very surreal moment that happened in our lives. But to me, that I love music, the real moment happened when we started from overnight, packed houses everywhere and stuff.
Yeah.
And
so when when the Crystal Heart, when that hit to you, that was the moment where you're like, man, this is turning into something big.
Well, that's 93, right? Fast forward and go to 1999 that we because in 93 we started, Mafia was tell us, y'all got to get into Mexico. Y'all got to take your music to Mexico. I know Sony is already producing the music or whatever, but y'all got to make presence. Y'all got to go. I'll say, cool. I said, we'll take you on one of the tours. So they took us in 95, 96 to tour, and the crowd was okay, whatever. And it wasn't until one of the songs went to #1. And
what song was it?
It's called Aposté a Ganar. It was on the same album because it's funny how the album came out in 93 and we didn't record the next album until 95. And because out of the 10 songs, 9 songs made it to #1.
Wow.
We had 9 singles on that album.
How many people have done that?
Not that many. I don't think
there can't be that many.
There's not a many artists like that.
Maybe like Michael Jackson, maybe a Thriller album,
somebody like that.
Yeah.
But in our genre, I don't think we were just every song that we record became a hit.
Who was writing them?
At the time, I've never wrote a song. At the time, there was writers that were because there's money in writing.
So
also.
They're producing the.
So there's
Sony's
writers that dedicated
writers.
themselves to do that. There's a lot of writers that nowadays they very good writers. And I remember that that song just took off. I remember Mafia taking us the first time. We just got on stage. People in Monterrey, people were like singing the songs and stuff. I was like freaking out because it was the love over there a lot bigger than over here. It's like over there it's like we were like, wow, like people really love the music and love the songs word by word. They learned it and they're singing. They're even louder than you. So I remember back in you go from that's 95, and by 99 we had the last album with Sony. The album was called Por Eso Te Amo. That's Why I Love You. Por Eso Te Amo. This writer wrote that song, and he said, I wrote this song thinking of another song from the Corazón de Cristal album. This Corazón de Cristal album had that many hits, and I told you one of the songs called Ven y Baila. Ven y Baila means come dance with me, but it's in it's like I want to say it I'm going to say it's like a seductive way of telling, come dance with me, but it's come dance with me.
They're not talking about dancing.
Yeah. But it's a really pretty song, very, very popular. So this guy wrote a song thinking of that one, but kind of like I said, it sounds almost like that, but it's a real good song for y'all. And we heard it, Por Eso Te Amo, okay? So we recorded it, and it became the first single. And then it got nominated for our first Grammy. So it was nominated, and the Grammys were going to be like in 6 months or whatever. that song.
How did they let you know?
The label called us. Hey, we submitted your album. We submitted everything, whatever. The album made it to your first nomination to the final 5.
Holy smokes!
I was like,
you
wow.
guys had to be freaking out.
Yeah, we were like, we're nominated, and it was Intocable, Palominos, A.B. Quintanilla with his first album, The Cumbia Kings, which is an album that the debut album for Cumbia Kings.
That's
and,
huge. Selena's brother. Those of you that don't know,
Selena's brother.
Selena's
brother. Yeah,
formed his own band,
producer,
and yeah.
And Selena called him the Cumbia King because he made a lot of cumbia hits for.
Oh, really? That's
Selena.
where the name came from. I didn't know
that's
that.
where the name came from. You know, they were good friends of ours. We every now and then when we go to Corpus, we meet with Cized and AB and them.
That's cool.
Real cool people. Real cool people. But getting back to the story, the song came out. We took it out, and it just became a hit, and because it was so like the other song, but it had its own message or whatever. And I remember that got nominated for Grammy. Wow, we're all freaking out. Wow, our first nomination, whatever, right? And then we got invited to, because it was very heavy hit, and it started going into, because all the Tejano crossover bands, there was that Namini, it was us, Intocable, Bobby Pulido. There was, maybe you can count them in one hand, of the crossover bands, because there's a lot of Tejano bands that never made it just to Monterrey. But if you're going to make it in Mexico, you got to get into Mexico City. And
got to go to the DF, the DF.
Yeah, DF. So that Por Eso Te Amo made it to DF. And we went. I remember doing a radio tour or whatever. It took us maybe a month to travel and do all the radio stations, TV stations, a lot of stuff, different kinds of promotion strategies that they did and stuff. So we spent like a whole month there. Come back and go back, play, come back and during the week, do promotion. And I remember during that time also, we didn't know that we were promoting the song, but at the same time, the band was people knew about, because by the time Por Eso Te Amo came out, there was a lot of other hits that we had, like Quiero lo que más quiero, Duele el amor, a bunch of other hits that we had. So all these, they knew who we were, but they couldn't put a name with the song. They were playing the song. So just by promoting Por Eso Te Amo, it became this huge thing. So they invited us it was a Valentine's performance, and we headlined Estadio Azteca, which is a big stadium that maybe fits. We had that night 115,000 people.
115?
Yeah.
And you guys were the headliners?
We were the headliners, and we had maybe 2 or 3 other Mexican bands, but they were like the local bands from there, right? Yeah. And we were the
big for. They had to be.
I mean, it was so crazy, because I said, "How are we going to play in a stadium?" And we get there, they flew us there. And mind you, they say you got to come a week before, do radio again, and then be ready for that performance. Okay, don't book anything in the United States, anything, whatever. This is going to be your baby for this next couple of weeks. We did that. We did rueda de prensa, whatever they call the press releases, and where, you know, like what they do to the over there in Mexico is real popular. They do to the bands when a band comes to town or whatever. All the media and everybody's there asking questions, like when the president is going to speak. You know, everybody's there asking questions or whatever, reports and stuff like that. We had never seen anything like that. We were like freaking out. Like,
what kind of question they asked? What'd you eat for breakfast?
Okay. Yeah, like stuff like that. You know, are y'all are brothers, and do y'all speak English too, and stuff like that, right? I say, yeah, you know, but we're not going to speak it here, you know.
Right.
But, you know, and remember that we did that, and I said, I just wanted to go see how the setup was, because it's a stadium, it's a round thing.
So you guys were in the middle, and it was in the round.
They set up towards the, it's like a round thing, like they set us up.
The soccer stadium, isn't it?
Yeah. They set us up to one side, like on the corner.
One end of the stadium.
And everything filled up, and then the bottom, but they had one of those, because over there they called them bailes masivos, where they're massive dances. What they call them in Spanish is bailes masivos, where in the middle of nowhere, we play like in Michoacan or somewhere, San Luis Potosí or something, and it's just an open ground, and you set up your whole stage. It's a whole stage setup.
And then people just dance out,
and just people
in
come in, and over there the bailes masivos are. One stage is right. It's kind of like this. One stage right there, one stage right here, one stage over there, one stage over here. So people are running from over there, over here, and then one over here. When each band comes
Oh,
up on
gotcha.
stage.
Yeah. So they can set up and tear down.
Yeah, but in this stadium, it was only one band. I mean, it was only us, and the other bands were going to use the same equipment. So it was just, you could see by the time we got there, you could just see a sea of people, right?
Wow.
And there was a stage set up in the middle.
So the people on the field are going to dance.
Yeah.
And
they were dancing if they could, because by the time we got there, it was like they would move, and you could see kind of like if you were looking at the ocean, you know, and the ocean's moving, you know how the waves move?
Yeah.
The people were like that because some people were doing this or whatever, this and then
An ocean
right?
of Mexican
yeah.
people. Yeah.
And at the same
I've
time,
seen a couple of those.
the stage is maybe like 6 feet tall, maybe 6 feet high.
Okay.
And because I saw like, why is there so many ambulances here? I guess they already knew what to expect, right? They were taking chicks out and men or whatever that would faint because of the heat and the pushing against the stage.
Against the stage.
I was like, wow.
Holy smokes.
And when we got on stage, that's when everything got crazy, because we started playing and we just started with that song. And they started singing. And for a moment they were like looking at each other because, hey, I can't hear you, dude. I can't. Yeah, we couldn't hear the drums. We couldn't hear you. We're like paying close attention to us, what we're doing, because back in the day there were no in-ears.
Oh, so it was just those
yeah
wedge monitors on the stage.
Yeah, nowadays in the in-ears you can hear anything. You can hear all the noise or whatever.
But back then there was none of that.
They were like, wow. And then people would move. They had signs and whatever, right? I freaked out one time. They would sell these things like, it looked like a milk carton. And it was like this, and it had like a mirror, and then had a mirror over here.
Oh, so they could see
over the crowd. I was like, wow, they think of everything here, you know, like. So
these Mexicans are smart.
Yeah, and I remember that.
So you're seeing those little submarine looking things.
Yeah, exactly.
All in the crowd.
Everywhere. You know, back in the day, it weren't cell phones, right? You would see now you see cell phones,
right? Yeah.
But you know, people singing and whatever, and I was like, wow. But at the same time of the singing and screaming, you could hear like a roar, and then the stage on where they would push, the stage would kind of like, hey, did you feel that? Like the stage move. I was like, man. And then you see the lights are up here, whatever. We're at freeway and something's gonna fall on us or something.
Yeah.
We were. That's when I said, I made it. It's kind of like a question, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I made it. Like, because my dream was to make it one day, and I was like.
So that's when you realized.
And I was like, wow.
I think we made it.
Yeah, I think we made it, right? And I was like,
115,000 people shaking the place to your music.
Yeah. And I was like, wow. So that night I went back to the hotel, and I was like, just thinking, wow. And I mean, that back in the day, I didn't know about the Lord yet, but you know, a little bit after that in 2001, because we continued going and doing those massive dances and whatever. We toured Mexico for a long time. In 2001, we had an accident. Lost my brother, which, by the way, in 1997, he was diagnosed with leukemia. And he was in remission and everything. But one time, because he lived right in front of my house, like we lived across from each other, I remember him. Now I reminisce and think back, and he would always tell me, because he went through that chemo and the side effects, and it's an ugly thing, you know. I mean, going through that stuff. Yeah, like cancer. And I remember him telling, man, I don't wish this on my worst enemy. He said, man, if it comes back, because he would go to regular checkups. This is already 97, 98. This is 2000, 2001. It was like, you know, when I die, I just want to die like that. I don't want to go through this. I don't want to do that, whatever. If it comes back, I hope it doesn't come back, but I want to die like this. And now, you know, that I've been doing the work of the Lord, and I know more than what I knew then, I'm like, wow, he professed it with his mouth. You know, I mean, when we have power in
our tongues,
our tongues, you know.
How old was he when he died?
31.
What happened?
We were in a bus coming from Victoria, Texas. We're going to Port Lavaca, or coming from Port Lavaca to Victoria. And it was a back road. And I remember that we were going, because a bus, big thing.
Giant tour bus.
Yeah. We were, let's say there's a stop. We didn't know there was a kind of T where the road ends.
Or dead end,
This way. We're going on a curve like this. And we're like 60 miles, 65 miles an hour. So by the time we turn like that, and we can see the sign that there was not even blinking light, there was nothing. We turned like that, and we could see that it was not a dead end, but you know, either go this way. How are we going to turn? Bus is going to roll over. So by the time we knew, it was maybe like, I would say like a football field away, maybe.
Mhm.
And he started pressing on the brakes and very little, it wouldn't. So he said, you know what? And we saw a big field, like an open field across, like he said, I'm just freeing open. The driver would say, I just freeing nothing's coming from here and this way. I'm just gonna go just grab on because I'm gonna go into this field. That'll stop us. But we didn't anticipate it from here to there was a big ditch.
Oh.
By the time we got close, we saw
it. Yeah.
And it was like one of those ditches they use for agriculture, for to
irrigation
water. Yeah. We went airborne and hit. My brother was in the front talking to the driver.
Mm-hmm.
So all I remember was the bus doing this number.
Oh man.
I couldn't see anybody. It was just like
things are flying.
Yeah, flying everywhere. And what we find out is that my brother ends up in the bottom of the bus. I'm thinking that he's the first one to hit the windshield, and he died instantly. And right now I know. I think we never saw him again. In other words, they told me he was under the bus or whatever. Because like real quick like that, the paramedics got there. I don't know how quick. To me, it was very quick. Like it was maybe not even 15, 20 minutes by the time paramedics got there and just took us away to the side of the road and whatever. It was like a surreal moment. We couldn't even remember. It's vaguely, I remember.
It's like a dream.
Little things in there, you know. But I remember now and I said, wow, like that happened. And, talking spiritually, I can say or kind of understand, because back in the day, we were all together. Like we were a close family.
Mm-hmm.
And everything we would do together. Hey, football game's going to be this Sunday. Okay, yeah, okay. Well, we're gigging Thursday, Friday, Sunday, except Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Sunday, we'll meet at your house. Okay, I went to my brother's house. Okay, we'll cook out, this and that, whatever.
Watch the
every
game,
time, every weekend. It never failed.
You're the only Broncos fan in your family?
Yeah.
Good man.
Yeah. I'm the
all
only
Cowboys fans.
I'm the only smart one.
Their hearts were broken last year.
Yeah.
Anyway.
And I pick on them now because I said, you know what? We're going to the Super Bowl this week.
We are, man. We are. We're filming this right now in 2022. You heard it here first.
We know this going to happen.
Yes.
And we have only one sister.
Mm.
My sister, she lives in Washington State. So guess what? That was her quarterback.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, we just got Russell Wilson from the Seattle Seahawks. Yeah,
that was her quarterback. So we kind of play back in, each other, whatever. Just, but I said, no, we're gonna make it. But I remember when that happened, we were always together, right? And now I know that it's the spirit that just came in the family when the accident happened. Because I remember it was kind of like and the legalities of the band or whatever, because the band was based on, we're all family.
Mm-hmm.
But because of tax purposes, we're just like, me and my brother James kind of put ourselves as owners, like partners. Mm-hmm. And everybody would make the same money and everything.
Right, but you were just
listed. On paper, yeah. One of those kind of things, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that when my brother Jesse passed away, he wasn't on the, so the widow started kind of doing things like, I guess I don't blame her that she started thinking all these things. And she even went as far as saying, y'all killed my husband. And like, how are we going to kill our brother? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She didn't see it that way.
Grief makes people
it makes it say and think and talk and whatever.
Things they normally wouldn't say.
She was bitter for a long time. Mind you, she was pregnant with my brother's only child. Wow. And he never got to meet her, right? That's another story, but she kept royalties and this and that. Again, I'm going to sue y'all and blah, 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 whatever. She was all talk because nothing ever happened, right? And we would tell her, hey, right now there's no royalties. It's nothing. It's just, we're just barely getting started. Mm-hmm. I know we're going to be getting royalties in the future maybe, but not now. And I remember that my brother, I know he was trying to do good, my brother James, because me and him were always the decision makers. This is the other singer. And he would like, you know what? In the future, for us not to have this happen again, I want to make the third brother an owner, which we were the four older ones. So the one, my bass player, can make him an owner. And this happened in 2001, before we got started. And I remember that we went through the paper or whatever, did everything. We even went as far as to creating an LLC and having 2 LLCs and stuff, one on the road and one for royalty money and recording money and stuff like that. And the road, the attorney told us, because if your truck or bus hits somebody or whatever, they'll come after this.
So
you know what I mean?
To separate the.
He kind of said, look, this is what Walmart's doing. This is what all these companies do, because if their drivers, they don't, they hit somebody, kill somebody, or somebody comes after, they don't come after Walmart. You know what I mean?
Come after Walmart trucking. Or
yeah,
whatever,
exactly.
Right? Yeah.
And it's not the whole big pie, right? So doing that, I told my brother said, yeah, and I said, okay, well, cool. He did that, and nothing happened then, but in the future, his wife started kind of like, oh no, now I want to make decisions too. I want to do this, I want to do that. So
Dad was right about the heads.
Exactly. Yeah. It made things more complicated, than what they were. They should have just left them the way they were. But then after that, like I said, there was a spirit or maybe several spirits that came in, because the devil's always going to find a way how to get in. And I remember that I went through a divorce. I was having already marital problems or whatever, always fighting and for nothing, just for petty stuff.
It's a hard life.
Yeah. And I'm thinking that she just couldn't take it, like I was on the road and whatever, and your mind can play games with you, whatever. And remember that we went through a divorce in 2002, in the beginning of 2001, and 2002, the end of 2002, in Christmas, or going on 2003, I met my wife, Amber. So when I met her, I met her on the road. She was going to college, to Ranger College. They're close to Fort Worth, close to Dallas. She's from Corpus Christi. And I met her there, and whenever we played in the area, she would go and meet them. And she's like, her coming from her side of the family, it's just her. She has 3 siblings, her mom and her grandma. That's it. That's her family. Her grandma has only 1 child, and that's them. And when she came in and she met us, everybody was outgoing, and she was like, wow. And she would tell me, man, she never told me until later, right? She told me, man, I want a big family. That's what I always wanted, for Christmas and Thanksgiving,
right? Yeah,
and stuff like that. Have a big family, right? So I remember that came 2004. They had a birthday party for me and my parents, and my mom already knew that I already had a girlfriend, and so now we bring your girlfriend so we can meet her, so you can introduce her to the family. Everybody's here, so it's a perfect moment. I said, okay. So I took her, and mind you, all my brothers are there. When on the road, when she would come and meet us on the road, everybody would go and hug her.
So they knew her, yeah.
Hey, hi, whatever, kind of like that kind of thing. When she went into the house, she said, I saw something totally different. When I walked in the house and I started, your mom took me to introduce me to George's wife, to everybody's wife. Your brothers were like, they were totally different people,
Yeah.
So, and then, the time passed a little bit, and she noticed that we started noticing, like, hey, she said, by then there was MySpace and stuff. And you could see that, hey, your brothers got together for this and that and whatever. When? They didn't invite me. They never didn't want to invite me. Why? Because the wives were like, if he's going to take her, we don't want her. And she didn't. She said, they don't even know me. And I was like, yeah, they don't even know you. Why are they judging you, right? But after,
I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that,
But after years after, I kind of figured it out. I was like, they thought that because she being my wife, she was going to take over everything. And all she wanted was
to be part of the family.
Yeah. But I mean, needless to say, anyway, everything that had to do with Los Palominos revolved around me. So her being my wife, this is automatically anyway. Whatever they were dreading was going to happen anyway, because she's my wife. She's everywhere. Everywhere we went, Johnny Amber, it started becoming like that, And I remember that in 2000, we were like that. So one day, a friend of mine came and visited me, and he was, that's when I kind of drew the line. He came to visit me, And he was all dressed up. He knocked on the door. We were watching a movie. It was a Saturday. We didn't play. We didn't perform that weekend. We're watching a movie. And we're like, okay, there's nothing to do. Watch a movie. We hear her knock on the door. We opened the door. And my friend was like, he's a good friend of mine. He was my best man at my wedding.
Mm.
He was like, he looked me in surprise too because I opened the door.
Mm-hmm.
And he's all dressed up and everything. He was like, what happened? His name's Mac. What happened, Mac? What's going on? Why are you look scared? No, man, I just can't believe this. What happened? No. Nobody, come in the house, man. Let's talk or whatever. Okay, he went in the house and like, tell me, man. You can tell me anything, man. We're friends, man. We're family.
Mm-hmm.
He said, you know what? I just came from your brother's house, man. They have a big party over there for one of his sons or whatever. And the whole family's there. All your brothers, sister, your mom, your dad, even your older kids are there. Everybody's there. And I asked them, where were you? Like, where's Johnny? And they said that you weren't here. You were out of town.
Mm.
And I was like, it kind of hurt,
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, well, yeah. I said, Mac, that's becoming to be a regular here. Like we don't. That's what happens because they don't want me around because of Amber. And it plays things, and it plays games on your mind, because
right.
At one point I remember arguing with Amber, saying, you see, it's your fault. It's you. That's why they don't want me around them because it's all you. And I mean,
it didn't go well.
No, man, it didn't go well, but still,
So how did you guys come to Christ? So there's already some tension in the band. Mm-hmm. Things are not what they used to be. Your brother passed away. Mm-hmm. So everything's different.
Mm-hmm. And this is 04, 05. And I think when I was telling you, it was like 06. Mm-hmm. I think it was 07 because we had my daughter, the oldest. She was born in 2006. 2008, we started, because of that, we would always drive when we were performing or whatever. I was off. And then I didn't have my kids. Before my daughter was born, it was just me and Amber. So during the week, I would just go and, hey, well, let's go to Corpus. Let's go with your parents. We'll go over there, visit. And at the time, we would go and, hey, well, this band's coming. They're going to play here on this Wednesday or whatever.
So you'd go watch.
So, hey, let's go watch them. And then I would meet some friends there. Hey, man, I didn't know you go out or whatever. I would start it coming out, man. Palominos always, he said, they would tell me, man, when Palominos come in, that's the only time you see them, and then you won't see them until next year. He said, man, it's cool, man, that you're here, whatever. Yeah, well, my girlfriend's from here and whatever, right? And I started making friends like that, that I probably knew in the playing, but more on a personal kind of level.
Right, yeah.
So we would visit people like that. So I met this guy that used to, he's from Corpus. Your dad knows him. His name, they call him Papo. Mm-hmm. Banda, the familia Banda family from Corpus. They're musicians also. He used to play with Excelencia. There's a band called Excelencia, the big Tejano band also that he was a part of. By then, he was already in ministry. By the time I met him, or we kind of re-met again, or kind of started hanging out. Reconnected. He was doing ministry because he was married to Eloy Bernal's daughter, which Eloy Bernal is Paulino Bernal.
Paulino was a huge Tejano musician.
Evangelist.
Yeah, became a Christian, right?
Back in the 70s.
He was not always a Christian.
No, he wasn't always a Christian. He was in the world. He kind of like, he says, when I saw him the other day, I got to perform with him in San Antonio. And he said, Johnny, you remind me of me. Huh? You're me. But he said, you're in a totally different world. Because when I started back in the 70s, they said the accordion music was from the devil. So they wouldn't accept me in churches. So that's why I started doing the tent revivals.
Yeah, my dad heard the same kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah. But I met this guy, or he reconnected with this Papo guy, and he was married to this Paulino's niece, right? And we kind of connected, and we started hanging around. They lived in San Antonio. So one day we go, this 2008, I remember August 30th, 2008. And mind you, we were yearning for wanting to hang out with people, and because
the family
thing, And I knew I was looking for something, but I didn't know what it was. My wife too. At the same time, we were going through the same thing, because at the same time, all this is happening, my ex-wife's giving us another number over here big child support, this and that, whatever, this and that. No, don't take the kids today. No, yes, now whatever. We're going through that, and then I don't want her near the kids, and you know what I mean. That stuff like that. So we go one of these I don't remember, that was August 30th that we went to go San Antonio. Hey, let's go visit Papo and Rita. Okay, let's go. So we got there, and we had already met some of their neighbors. One of the neighbors now, they're pastors now. Back in the day, they were just, a couple. They were a young couple. Now they're pastors. They have a church in San Antonio called the Holy One. And her name's Monica Yvette and Ruben Cortez. Ruben Cortez is a pastor there. And I remember that we got there, and they kind of saw that we kind of parked there to go, and because they're neighbors. I was like, oh no way! They left in emergency. They had to go to, because her family, they're from Kingsville. Paulino and all of them are from that area. They said they had to go back. Oh wow! And he said, well, I mean, you want to come in the house and chat or whatever? I mean, so I don't have to go back home or whatever. Right. This one day.
Just come hang out.
Yeah, and I know I think it was God's plan, right? Because we were like, yeah, let's go in. We just started small talking or whatever. And before you know it, we're kind of venting. And this and that, blah, blah, blah. What happened, everything that I've been.
Did he know that you were Palominos?
Yeah, they knew already because we had met on another occasion, right? That's why they invited us in, to kind of like, I guess him and his wife were like, oh, let's get to know him better, So they were there talking and whatever, and we just started venting, blah, 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 this and that. And I remember my wife asking, what does it mean to be saved? And the wife said, it's just a prayer. It's a small prayer, accepting Jesus in your heart. You know what Jesus is? Yeah, because we were getting fed by Rita and Papo of the word.
So they were already starting.
They were kind of starting to minister to us. You know what I mean? And because I guess we clicked, and I know God put him in my path because we enjoyed the same things. We were musicals. We being musicians and loving music and everything. We talked about anything that had to do with music, And so that couple, they say, yeah, let's just accept Jesus in your heart and know that he died for whatever you're going through, everything leave it to him. It's not meant for you to carry it. All these burdens, everything that you have, it's not meant for you. That's why we have God. That's why we have Jesus that died on the cross for us. We're like, wow, we're like kind of understanding, right? Because he sent the Holy Spirit for, that's our advocate. That's what we, we feed on. That's what helps us everywhere we go, So y'all want to pray? We said, yeah. So we got in the middle of the living room. They started praying. We got into a circle.
What seemed like a small thing in the moment, right?
Yeah.
And life-changing.
And they started praying. Before you know it, man, I just felt warm like that.
Oh, wow.
And a big load off my back. I kind of like when somebody has you pushed down like that, and then they just let you go. You're like, wow, you're just like, and I remember all of a sudden like that, and then I just felt like I needed to cry.
Interesting. Cool.
Cry like a little baby. And me and my wife, we look at each other, and we just hugged each other and just started crying like unconsolable. I was like, wow. And then they told us, you see, that's the Holy Spirit. It's hugging you. The Holy Spirit's hugging you right now. Jesus is right there with you. And we're like, man, it was like one of those moments that I will never,
has come home. Yeah.
I will never forget. Yeah. And I remember that day, August 30th, that was when we first let Jesus in our hearts. And
in their living room. And now they're pastors.
And other pastors.
What was their names again?
Ruben and Monica Yvette Cortez.
Big shout out to
Big shout out to them,
and Monica Yvette
One.
Cortez at their church, the Holy One.
Yeah, I know God used them in a mighty way, and like I said, it's I wish everywhere I go, I always ask for prayer for my brothers because if they knew what I know, like if they can feel what I feel or see life the way I see it, because you gotta live life like it's today. You live and live happy. And
if everybody experienced what I've experienced, they would all want it.
Yeah.
But and there, there's a point where you weren't ready.
Yeah.
Right. So you were living your life, and some things in your life had to converge in order for your heart to be ready.
Exactly.
If you were still packing out soccer stadiums and everything was cool with your brothers, you might not have ever been. You weren't searching.
Amen. Yeah.
But God, and I don't think God causes that stuff, but He uses it. He jumps on the opportunity when God didn't turn your brothers against you or you guys against each other, or whatever. But in that moment when things started going south, it's obvious that he jumped in and said, "This guy's open right now."
Yeah, right. Yeah, I gotta help him.
I definitely believe he orchestrated those guys being next door.
Yeah,
if you really go back, maybe it was him that helped him find that house, knowing that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? You just never know.
There's a
God's
reason
playing
why,
a game of chess, man.
That's why I like you said, it's a game of chess, because I remember, how did he connect me again with that guy Papo, you know? And why did he reconnect me?
Interesting.
And why weren't they the ones that brought me to the Lord?
Right, yeah.
It was their friends.
Yeah.
Who
just happened to live next door.
Because they had a fallout as a couple and they're not together anymore. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Yeah.
Interesting, right? Mm-hmm. And I don't know. It's I know, like you say, it's a game of chess, and we don't know what the next move is, you know. Right. Which is exciting, because for us to know that you wake up in the morning, what does God have in store for us today, or what does He have in store for tomorrow? You know, we don't know.
Who knows? Yeah,
you know, and like our ministry, God gave us. You know, it's based on 2 Corinthians 5:7, where we walk by faith, not by sight, and it's really about faith, because a lot of people say, "You don't miss it." I say, "Yeah, I miss it." I mean, I miss playing with my brothers. I don't miss because it's a routine. Oh yeah, we're gonna go to Houston again. Oh yeah, we're gonna go to Denver again. Oh, we're gonna go. And in what I do now, it's more exciting because it has purpose. It has purpose because.
So that brings me to my last question.
Okay,
are you successful?
I feel successful.
What does that word mean? And what did it mean before, and what does it mean now?
Okay, to me, when I started out, successful meant being rich and famous, and
money,
women, you name it, everything that the devil has to offer you, the world, you know. And now I see it as successful as, you know, me, and it starts at home with my kids.
Good, yeah.
And still God in there, because one day they might, you know, stray away, but they know where to come back.
Right. Yes.
Some people that I've met on the road, they're people that come and follow me from the world, and they come and see what's going on. I want to see what Johnny Arreola is doing now, and not knowing that that's their divine appointment, that God brought them to that place.
That's their moment where you were in that living room. This is their moment.
Yeah,
God's using you.
They're lost.
Yes.
And I see them. They don't know they're lost. I know they're lost.
Right, yeah.
But I know that they just finally found the place. They found it. If they want it, it's there, right?
Yeah.
But like I said, I think it's Philippians, right? 4:11, or that talks about, you know, I've seen the having nothing. I've
learned to be content in every situation.
Yeah, and I've learned that now, because fast forward into 2020, because in 2017, I got the chance to record my first CD. When I recorded it, I was still playing the world.
Your first gospel CD.
And
you were still playing with your brothers.
Yes.
Right.
Well, immediately when they came out, people started judging me. Christians, right? You know, and saying, "Oh, well, that's disrespect to God, and you can't be in both places at the same time, and that, blah, blah, blah." And it kind of hurt me. I can tell you,
Johnny, those Christians are not listening to this podcast, because as soon as they turned it on, they saw my tattoos and they turned it off.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
So they're not listening.
I heard that one too, yeah. But, you know, they're not Christians, really. They're religious, right?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah.
But, you know, what I said is, you know, I lost my train of thought.
So you recorded your gospel CD.
Yeah. They kind of,
and you did what a lot of people do. You know, you have this new life, but you've got to figure it out now. You got to navigate it. And there's not very many people who could walk you through that.
Right.
Because how many people in the history of the world have packed out a stadium, 115,000 people.
Wow,
there's only a small number.
Yeah.
Okay, now how many of them are now followers of Christ? And how did they transition? And how did they, it's
not that many.
Right.
I know that was God's plan. Why?
Right.
Because it was God's plan. Because like I say, it hurt me, you know, when they would tell me that. So I started praying, because a little bit after that, this friend of mine that came with me last time, Pete Bustamante, he had already been doing ministry for 10 years. And he said, "Hey, there's this weekend, I know," I told him, "I'm open this weekend. What are you going to do?" "No, we're not playing. We're off. Hey, would you come and would you want to, you know, companies, we're going to go to Lubbock and this and that, whatever, we're going to go minister." I was like, yeah, I get a chance to go and see what it's about.
See what it's like, yeah.
They said, I'll have my band back you up and stuff like that. I said, okay, cool. Just sing 2 or 3 songs. We'll rehearse some of the songs from your album, which is the first Christian album. And we'll rehearse. And what I loved about it was, like I said, I miss my brothers, hanging around with them the way it used to be before. Why? Because as soon as we took off on the road, what I enjoyed about it was we were just in the van or in that SUV that we were leaving to the road. It was just me, him, and drummer, the bass player, or whatever. It was kind of like the old days, like, man, excited about go playing. Yeah. And just the hanging around. Hey, let's stop to eat here and whatever. Get
a Whataburger.
Yeah. And then we got there, and then we get there, and then we sing. And it's not a packed stadium. It's a church, you know, maybe a couple of 100 people, maybe 50 people in one of them. But just seeing what I saw, you know, that some of my songs, one was that there was a church and it was 50 people. And I saw that there was this couple that came when I was doing this. I did a slow song just out of the blue, got the piano, did a song. And it was a canto like from, I don't know if it's Marcos Witt or somebody. But I got the piano and then I got the accordion, and I did it with an accordion, the same thing as the piano, but with accordion, right? And this guy was there, and it was a couple, older couple. And she just flat down when they were listening to the song, flat down, face down. She was there worshiping
the Lord, yeah.
And he knelt down and he was just crying. When it all ended, he got to talk to me or whatever we were talking. He was like, Johnny, I remember you. I interviewed you when you were starting out back in San Antonio. And this guy was over here in Lubbock, right? And he said, I interviewed you, and you and the guys, y'all were full of like energy. Y'all wanted it and whatever. And then I know everything you've done in your life. But now that I see you here, I was like, wow, look at God. He said, when you sang that song, it just hit me. And I couldn't take it. I had to kneel down, and I never do that. I was like, that's when I saw the difference from the stadium.
Right.
I didn't feel anything here. I was more scared. I was like, more like, what's next, right? And here I was like, God telling me, this is what it's all about. I use you.
I don't want you to skip over that. Okay. So your moment in the stadium, because we talked about this in your car. The moment in the stadium when you said we made it, right? 115,000 people. The stage is shaking, all that.
Right.
The next thing you asked yourself was, what's next?
Right.
It's never enough.
It's never.
Right? Without Christ, pursuing whatever, it doesn't satisfy. It's like drinking salt water.
Exactly.
It's never going to quench your thirst.
You're going to get thirsty again.
But then you're now playing for 50 people in a church. This is why God designed you. And that hole in your heart is full.
It's full.
I love that.
I feel like, you know, wow, God, now I understand. You're using me. It's not about me.
Yeah.
It's about you.
Yes.
You know, and you're using me. Who am I? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's, sorry, but
no, that's huge, man. Because think about that, even that, right? Who am I? I'm just a servant. I always say I'm that little kid with the fish and loaves that shows up and says, Jesus, if you can do something with what I have, please do it, right?
Exactly.
So that's who I'm sitting across from now.
Yeah.
Not the guy walking in saying, yeah, we're here. Los Palominos are here, and we're about to rock the house.
Exactly.
Which is, there's nothing wrong with that either.
No.
But it's the heart. Jesus cares about our heart.
Yeah.
More than he cares about anything else. He's chasing us, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's when I saw, you know, and I remember after that, I was because we read reading the Bible, right? And I read, God gave me a word. He would tell me, and he sometimes comes into my dreams, right? And he told me, before I started my ministry, he told me, you're not ready. Read. You're not prepared, because how are you going to go to war without weapons? You know, you need the weapon, which is the word.
This is a war, yeah.
Exactly. It's a war, a spiritual war. So I'm like, okay, so we start reading the New Testament, the Old Testament at night, and the New Testament in the morning. So this is March when COVID hit, because let me back up. After that happened, I started, because I didn't like that I was being judged, right? And I was whatever. And now I understand, it's like, it doesn't matter, you know. God knows my heart. But
right.
back in the day, I was
perform
still,
for an audience of one.
Exactly. And I'm like, you know what? I started praying. The Bible says pray without cease. I started praying, ora sin cesar, you know, for the desires of your heart. And God knows your heart. So God knew that what I really wanted to do, God, I already having trouble with my brothers. I want to do this. You know, I want to do.
You want to leave the band and do ministry.
And to me, it was impossible because I created the band. So now I tell everybody, I serve a God of the impossible. Why? Because he made that possible. When COVID hit, I know a lot of people, it affected a lot of people. To me, it was a blessing. Because to me, it was when I was praying and praying, God stopped the world. I was like, wow, God did. You know, he answered my, he said, give me a sign. That was a sign. But that's when he said, I said, okay, God. But he started closing churches. I said, I want to sing, God. That's when he said, you're not ready. You need to be prepared. You know, so we started reading the New Testament, Old Testament at night. In October, this is March, in October, there's a scripture that says where Jesus is preaching at a church and his mom and his brother trying to get in. There's a multitude of people and they're trying to get to talk to him.
Right.
And one of the disciples tells him, hey, their mom's here.
Your brothers are here,
and he turns to the congregation and says, where are my brothers? Where's my mother?
It's these guys.
It's us that are doing God's work. You know, we are brothers. So that in itself, I said, wow, right there. My brothers are not saved. I'm the only one. So that's pretty much what God was trying to tell me so I can understand, okay, I think you're almost ready. You know? So that day, when I said that, I prayed the next night and I was like, God, I want to feel the Holy Spirit. Right? It was November 4th. I remember that the next morning, I wake up like this, shaking. And a clearly voice telling me, go to your parents. The night before was because I had gone to church. We went and everybody was sharing their testimonies, how they came to the Lord. And my wife said, you got up and you started sharing yours and you were all over the place. But at the end, you told everybody, I didn't even know. She said, you got up and you said, pray for me because tonight I left the world. I left everything. I'm serving the Lord 100%. And you hadn't done it. So everybody prayed over me for it to be received in love whenever I, encounter my brothers or talk to my brothers.
Making this big move, yeah.
Yeah. So the next day I told you I woke up all shaky because I had also prayed for the Holy Spirit and I was like shaking and I just felt like I wanted to start running, right? So, and I hear a clear voice saying, go to your parents. So I head to my parents. But before that, I call my label head. I'm telling, because this is a big decision, Los Palominos are about to
a lot of finances.
There's going to be a lot of changes in Los Palominos, right? And mind you, we're still in COVID. Nobody's playing, nobody's doing anything.
Nothing's happening, yeah.
So this is November 5th, and I go to my parents and I call Freddie. He didn't answer. So as soon as I got to my parents and started talking to my mom, because I wanted to kind of give them a heads up, look, this is going on and whatever, because they're up there in age, and I didn't want to. We never want to tell them our problems or we're going through and stuff. Yeah. So 30 minutes pass. Mind you, before I start talking to my parents, Freddie calls. And I'm talking to my parents, and Amber says, I'll get the phone. I'll tell them everything that's going on. So 30 minutes later, I'm talking to my parents, and she walks in and said, I already talked to Freddie. And all I need to tell you is that he said that if it's a calling from God, you can't ignore that. And tell him that we're here to support him 150% in whatever he wants to do. He wants to do a solo project, and we'll do anything that we need to do to promote him and whatever he wants to do.
Wow.
I was like, wow. So I turned around, put the phone on dial, and I dialed my brother, and I told him, my brother, James. First thing I did, hello. I said, hey, I'm calling because I need to tell you something. He said, what about? I said, well, I've been wanting to tell you this, and a while back it's been stirring up in my head, and I couldn't find the words to tell you, but I need to tell you before I start doing what I'm going to do. God's calling me to do His work. What do you mean? I said, well, He's calling me to do whatever I used to do with y'all, because I'm telling you that I can no longer tour, can no longer play in the world, no concerts, no dances, no nothing, because I completely turn to do Jesus' work. That's what I'm going to do. Oh, okay. He said, well, I've been waiting for this call. He said like that. And one thing that impacted me was they went for this call, but I knew this was going to happen sooner or later because it's been a couple of years that we've seen you different. And really God says that, right? That
right. Yeah.
It's you don't have to be telling everybody you're Christian. You know, it's on the way you act, the way you do things, the way you treat people, you love on people and stuff like that. And as a matter of fact, this is what I was talking to your dad about last night. You know, he said something about, you know, you could preach very beautiful, but if your acts make me vomit or something. He was saying something like that.
Yeah.
As if, you know, but and they told me
don't tell me you're a Christian. Let me see how you treat the waitress. Like that's, you know what I mean? That's how like it's one thing for someone to tell you, hey, I'm a Christian. That's great. That's wonderful.
Let me see the way you act.
Let me see how you talk to your kids.
Exactly.
Let me see
how you are, you know,
how honest you are at work.
Nowadays, just check anybody's Facebook.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Pastor so-and-so, and then you see your Facebook, nothing to do with church.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's the day, November 5th, 2020.
Now I'm thinking about what do I post on Facebook lately. So I need to share something.
I'm sure it's something good.
Yeah. So Johnny, we're running out of time.
Did we go out of time overtime?
But that's okay. I enjoyed it.
That. But I mean, there's a lot.
What's one last thing you would say to someone who is we're gonna have a lot of different audiences hearing this.
Okay.
Some are gonna hear it just because your name is on it.
Right.
Hey, I remember that guy, and I want to hear what he's doing. There's definitely gonna be Christians that listen to this. I'm gonna ask them. Say your brother's names again.
My brother's name, the singer's James Arreola. Bass player is George Arreola.
George.
The drummer, which is now the accordion player, is Julio Arreola.
Julio.
Yeah. And my brother Jimmy runs sound.
I'm going to ask everybody listening to this, would you pray for these guys? Like, I believe we're going to have hundreds of people praying for these guys.
Yes. By all means, yeah.
So if I can use this little bit of platform for anything, we're going to ask them to pray. Now, what would you say to, we'll take one last thought. What would you say to Johnny Arreola, who's on the fence and just like, you know, you're a guy that was like you or follows you, and you're just like, man, I don't know about this whole Jesus stuff. I don't know if this is even real. I don't know.
Right.
My life, I feel like something's happening. I don't really know what would you say
to somebody like that, and especially they're musicians?
Yeah, musicians.
You're saying? If they're musicians, you know, it's like I reflect on my life and I say, why didn't I do this before? A long time ago. Why? Because if I knew then what I know now, but I know it's God's plan. Like you said, it's a chess game, and God made this move at that point in time,
right?
Which when I told you, you know, but I would say some places when I go and we're talking about this, I'll tell them, I challenge you to go to church for at least 2-3 months and just read the Bible and go to church, because I know, but a non-denominational church or Christian church,
right?
Because I know a lot of people that go to Catholic church,
right?
And I have nothing.
God bless them, right?
Yeah, it's same God.
Yes,
but you know, I didn't understand the sit up, stand down, stand up, sit down,
right,
kneel down, and now you know it's more like an exercise,
right?
But
everybody has different needs, right? Some people connect with God that way.
Exactly.
That was not me.
Yeah.
Sure.
And me
that
either.
wasn't you. Yeah.
That wasn't me. And it took me, you know, me being a musician also, I would tell musicians, listen to a Christian station. Listen to Christian music.
Right.
Maybe the music's what's going to minister to you, because maybe you're a person that if you see somebody that comes in, it's a pastor, you don't want somebody to preach to you. You know, you're more of me being a musician, I know this pastor that now I go to him for advice. But back in the day, I would see him at Walmart from Uvalde. I'm like, ew, this pastor.
People do that to me.
Because he wanted, because he wanted to talk to me, right?
Yeah.
And I understand now that, you know, I've learned that, you know, you offer if they want to talk about Jesus or they want whatever, you know, it's not drilling in on them or kind of pushing.
That doesn't work. Yeah.
You know, hitting them with a Bible in the head. You know, it's not kind of that kind of thing. And I would tell them, you know, it's like you, if you're a musician, music, you know, and then sometimes I've heard people telling me, man, I walked in church like you told me, and I listened to and they were saying exactly what I was going through. I say, you know what? That's God.
That's the Holy Spirit.
And I tell them also, I go on and tell them, the amazing thing is that I bet you sometimes the pastor is talking about something else.
Right. Oh, yeah.
But it's hitting you the way that it's going in your heart because God wants it to go into your heart. That's why God doesn't make mistakes. You know, I said, whenever you're at a place or whatever, it's not a coincidence that you're there. That the word coincidence doesn't exist for God.
Yes.
Right.
I agree.
You're there. It's a divine appointment, you know, because it's a divine appointment that we're here talking.
I agree.
You know what I mean? It's not something that, okay, you made me come over here, you know, there's prayer, you know, within it. And like me, when I go anywhere, I pray on it and I'm like, God, if you feel that, give me peace.
Yeah.
You know,
guide me.
It guide me, you know, because, you know, he's going to guide your steps, you know. When I bring him to salvation, I tell him, let him be the guide of your steps too. Walk by faith, not by, oh, I don't know what's going to happen next month. My light bill and whatever. Have you ever prayed to God? You know,
you ever asked
He'll
him,
make an amazing turnaround. You know, you don't understand. I mean, that's why I say to my brothers, they will never understand until they really ready. Because sometimes it's like you need to be ready. In other words, it's kind of like me. I wasn't ready when I was kind of like trying to hide from that pastor, right? And but now I look for him because I want to tell him what happened at the last service. That there was a miracle that happened. Cool, me and my wife prayed over this person that couldn't see, and he could see now. Or this other person. Last week we had a friend of ours that kind of visits us when we go to Dallas, and he said that at work he was painting, and he kind of knelt down to paint, and when he got up, he heard a pop. So we went to the doctor, did an X-rays on him, and he had broken his fibula. I don't know what you call that.
Smokes.
Just like that. And he came over, and I told him, hey, well, sit down. That was before the service. He was telling me everything, right? Yeah, I broke it and whatever, and then they don't know I'm gonna have to have surgery and whatever. And he had this big brace on, and he was kind of like walking with whatever, right? With what do you call them? Those
crutches.
Crutches.
Yeah.
And I said, no, we'll sit down in a little bit. We'll see what God says. We'll pray you up. Yeah, brother. And he's one of those acquaintances. He's not like a, you know. So he sat down and whatever. Right after the service, said, the service was already ending in Dallas. And I told my wife, Brother Chris needs prayer over his leg. And I didn't tell him anything about what was going on because I had this conversation with him. And I just told my wife, he needs prayer. And he knew who he was. So, Brother Chris, come up. And he was like, he could hardly walk and walked in the front, whatever. And he sat down. We were on the pulpit, and there was where the other elevation where the drums are at. He sat down there. And she asked him, you believe Jesus can heal you? He said, well, no doubt. No doubt. He said, okay, we believe, okay, let's pray. And he started praying and whatever. Kid you not, like five minutes later, she said, God's telling me to walk. Get up and start walking. He started walking like if nothing. And he did this number with a leg and everything. I was like, wow. I mean, like, you know what I mean? Like you that's what gives me confirmation to know that
you're on the right road.
What we're doing is what we're supposed to be doing because it all started with El Palomino Mayor, me doing the ministry. But I didn't know it was going to be husband and wife together. You know, we do stuff together. And now I know that it's my wife says, you're the hook. We bring them in, and then it's their divine appointment. And when we're there, whatever word we deliver, or if there's healing needed, there's prayer needed for anything, God's going to manifest the way he is going to do his thing today. So I'm sorry, I'm going over the time.
That's good. That's all right. It's good.
But
Johnny, I enjoyed it, man. I enjoyed talking to you. We're looking forward.
Thank you. Yeah.
So I will post in the show notes. Johnny is going to be in our church tomorrow. So I'll post a link to the service. And we'll post the Spanish and the English. So if you want to, in the Spanish, he'll be doing some more music and stuff. So it has been a pleasure, man.
Sure,
Thank
same
you.
here. Angel, it's been a pleasure and a blessing, to be here and talk to the audience. And hopefully whatever I said might be of help to somebody, right?
I enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
God bless everybody.
Thank you for joining us today. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode.